Kids, and today I'm going to be cleaning up some Cabbage Patch Kids, so let's get on with the video. The first thing that you need to do is remove all of the clothes and all of their accessories. Accessories like hair ties, which is where the scissors can come in useful to remove them. And I'm also going to remove the elastic band on the head, and I also have like a little stitch there, so I think I'm going to remove that as well. I'm probably not meant to, but I am going to do that anyway because YOLO. And now we have the full head of hair free of the elastic bands. Yeah! I'm also going to remove the price tag that somebody put on them, and I'm going to remove that using the scissors. This one also has an elastic band in the hair, so I'm just going to get the scissors and I am going to snip that off, like so. This should just come out just like that. And for the clothes, I'm just going to put them straight into the washing machine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dolls that have brushable hair and I'm going to try and brush my fingers through the hair. And I'm going to put into sections to try and help to get all the knots out. And this can be a bit of a struggle, but you know, just try your best. So now, after I brush out the doll's hair using my fingers, now I'm going to go in with the doll hairbrush. You can use any sort of brush, you can use just a regular brush, but I'm using a doll's hairbrush. And I'm going to put the doll's hair into sections to make it easier. And I'm just going to start by brushing out the ends of the doll's hair, and I'm going to work my way up. And make sure to be gentle as you can, and try not to rip out the doll hair. And I know it can be hard, but yeah, just try and be gentle as you can while doing this, and make sure to start from the ends and work your way up. So I did decide to use a bigger hairbrush because I just thought that it made the job easier than using a tiny hairbrush. So yeah, so I just moved to doing it with a bigger hairbrush. I am holding the hair with one hand and brushing it out with the other hand because I'm trying to rip less hair out as I possibly can. And after I finish brushing out one side of the doll's hair, I turn the doll around and I start brushing the other side. And after I finish using the brush, I do go back in with my hands to try and separate the knots using my fingers. And I do go back and forth by using the brush, then using my hands, then using the brush again, then my hands. And your hands are probably the most safest tool to use to get the knots out of the hair. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other Cabbage Patch doll that has the brushable hair. So I'm going to separate the hair into sections and try and brush it out first using my hands. And since this Cabbage Patch doll has curly hair and I'm separating the curls with my fingers, it's going to end up really, really puffy. And it's going to be more puffy when I start using the brush. So again, I'm holding a section of hair to try to prevent the hair ripping out the hair plugs. And I'm using the hairbrush to start brushing out the ends, and I'm going to work my way up. And after I finish brushing a section of hair out, I'm going to go back in with my fingers to try and gently ease out more of the knots. And then after that, I can do the same thing on all of the other sections. Okay, so I just finished brushing out the blonde Cabbage Patch Kid, and look at their hair. I actually really like it like this. It's like a massive afro and it's like 80s and stuff. Like, I think it would look so good if like it had like two little like bunches in. Like that. Like, look at it. Oh, look at that. I think it looks good with like really fluffy puffy hair. It's like a poodle. Ah! So after you have brushed out the Cabbage Patch Kids hair, it should look something like this. It should be really fluffy and really puffy. And since this one doesn't have brushable hair, I'm just gonna use this tool. It's like a nail brush, and I'm just gonna go through the hair like that. It's completely optional, it's not really a must. But I think it does make the hair feel like softer and stuff, so I kind of recommend. So, and why not? Why not? So now I got my container of warm water. We can start by washing our first kid. So first we're gonna wash this Cabbage Patch Kid. He has some marks on the arms and just some stains that we need to get rid of, so them are going to be the main focus points. So I'm just going to sit them in the water, like so, let them soak a bit. So first I'm going to use some regular hand soap, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on like the problem areas, which is like these weird little stain things. Then I'm going to use my sponge, put a bit of water on it. Then I'm going to scrub the stain to see if it does anything. And as you can see, it looks a lot more cleaner. And I think it's actually working, so this is going great. So yeah, I'm just going to scrub all over the Cabbage Patch Kid's body, get it nice and clean. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing, and I think I'm going to add some fairy liquid in as well, because why not, you know. In fact, we could like use all of like the soaps that I have here, you know, why not? Let's have a deep cleanse. I'm going to give his face a little scrub as well. I'm going to give him a bit of a squeeze so the water can like go into the Cabbage Patch Kid's body. So it's kind of like a sponge, because like if you squeeze it and then release it in the water, like the water will go into the fabric. So surely that will give it a good clean as well. Wash the hair a bit. And you can also use the nail brush as well. So you can either use a nail brush or a sponge. I'm just alternating between the two here. So I'm just taking turns on them both. So after they have had their bath, I'm now going to just pick them up and I'm going to squeeze all of the water out of the limbs of the Cabbage Patch Kid. Like so. Give them a good squeeze. So I'm just trying to squeeze out all of the water out as much as possible, and most of the water will be in the legs because the water will run down to the legs and the feet. So make sure that you give them a good squeeze. So after I've given them a good squeeze, I'm going to now wrap them up in a towel, and it's just fell into the bucket of water, which is something that you don't want to do. But yeah, I'm going to wrap them in a dry towel and I'm just going to transport them into an empty bath. Now I'm going to move on to the kids that have the brushable hair. So I'm just going to put them in the tub of water. I'm going to put them in the water, make sure that they are completely covered and filled with the water. I'm going to wet the hair as well. And again, just squish them in the water like so. And do the same thing, get a sponge and start scrubbing them. This one isn't as dirty as the vintage one, but it can still do with a good scrubbing because it is second hand. So yeah, and I clean everything that is second hand, so yeah. And again, you can alternate between the brushes. You can use the nail brush and the sponge, whatever you think works best really. So after you clean the body, it is now time to wash the hair. Since this is brushable hair, I am going to be using some Head and Shoulders shampoo because I feel like this shampoo lifts off most of the dirt than any other regular shampoo. So I'm just going to put that into the hair and I'm just going to ease it through like so. And I'm going to do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. So after I've washed the hair with Head and Shoulders shampoo, I'm now going to go in with the conditioner and I'm just going to lather that through the hair. And I'm going to do this for about 3 to 4 minutes. And make sure that you apply a good amount. And this is sure to help brush out all of the tangles in the hair. And it will also help calm down the frizz. So now after you work the conditioner in the hair for about 3 to 4 minutes, you can now get rid of all of the excess water from the doll by squeezing its limbs and squishing its tummy. And you want to make sure to get as much water out as possible. So after trying to squeeze out all of the water, you want to again wrap your doll in a towel, a dry towel, and you want to throw it into the empty bath. So now I'm on to my last Cabbage Patch doll, and they have the most frizzy hair out of all of them. So again, I'm just going to put them into the tub of warm water. I'm just going to squish them down into the water so all of the water can go throughout the body and also in the hair. I just want to squish them so all the water can like suck into them, so it's like a sponge. And you can turn them around and give them another squish. Then you can start scrubbing the body and the face using the sponge or the nail scrubbing brush. For the face, I recommend using the sponge because I feel like that the scrubbing brush doesn't really get rid of much muck off like a plastic surface. So you want to give them a really good scrub so they can be nice and clean. And again, be free to alternate with the nail brush and the sponge. So after I wash the body, I am now going to wash the hair. And again, I am going to be using my Head and Shoulder shampoo because, again, I think this is like the best shampoo to get rid of dirt. Because I think it really does lift off like the muck and the filth and the germs and everything. So I'm going to lather this through the hair for about 2 to 3 minutes. So after you worked in the shampoo to about 2 to 3 minutes, you want to now add in the conditioner and be generous with it because this Cabbage Patch Kid had very frizzy hair. So this will calm it down hopefully a lot and will look better than it did before, even though I kind of did like the frizz, and I think other people will probably like the frizz as well, but well, it's time to move on and restyle the hair into something fresh and new. And of course, most importantly, clean. So I'm going to lather this through the hair for about 4 to 5 minutes, or 3 to 5 minutes, I can't remember what I said, but you want to do this for about 4 minutes or so. And you want to really get into the hair, and you want to really distribute it very well, because you want it to have really nice, soft, silky hair, and you want it to be easy to brush through. So now after I work the conditioner in the hair, I'm now going to wring them out, and I'm going to try and get rid of all of the water that is in the body and the legs and the arms, and I'm just going to try and squeeze it and try and squeeze as much water out as I possibly can. And you want to make sure to give it a really good squeeze to try and get as much water out as possible. Okay, so after I've done that, I'm now going to wrap them in the towel. And if you're wondering why I wrap them in a towel, it's because so it kind of prevents it dripping on the floor, which is why I'm doing that. So now let's take them to the empty bathtub of doom. So now I have my 3 Cabbage Patch Kids in the empty bath, so now it is time to rinse out all of the suds using the shower head. And I do squeeze the body and the limbs while doing this to try and squeeze all of the soap and the suds out. And if you want, you can even put your Cabbage Patch Kid in the sink and squeeze out all of the soap and suds out in the sink. Then when you're done rinsing out and squeezing out all of the suds and the soap, you can now try and squeeze out all of the water that is in the body by squeezing the arms, the legs, and of course the body itself. And most of the water will be in the legs and the feet, as that's where the water travels down to, so make sure you give the legs and the feet a good squeeze. Then once you're done, you can throw your Cabbage Patch Kid at the far right hand side of the bath. Then you want to repeat the process on the other dolls of rinsing out all of the soap and the suds, and giving them a good squeeze to get all of the soap and the suds out. And again, you can do this in the sink if you want, and I like to turn them over as well and give them another squeeze. Then I need to try and squeeze out much of the water as I can, and again, most of this water will be found in the legs and the feet, so make sure to give them a very good squeeze. And don't forget to squeeze out the water out of the hair on the brushables. Now I'm going to use this cotton baby blanket that I'm going to use as a towel, because cotton is known to soak up more water than a regular towel, and it's also a lot more gentle and softer textured than a regular towel. Now I'm going to use the towel to try and absorb more water from the dolls, and I'm just squishing the towel against the doll to do this. And I'm also using this to absorb the water from the hair as well. If you have a doll that has a stain or a mark that didn't manage to wash out, for example mine has one near the mouth here, you can use a nail polish remover that has a 99% of acetone in it, and I'm just using a cotton pad to dunk in the acetone. And while you're doing this, you want to avoid all of the factory paint, as acetone can remove factory paint. So I'm only putting the acetone on the problem area while avoiding all of the factory paint, and then the stain is sure to come off. I do have a stain on my vintage Cabbage Patch Kids forehead, so I'm going to remove that with acetone as well. Again, avoiding the factory paint, and the stain has gone straight away as well. And I also decided to clean the inside of the mouth as well, because that was really dirty too. And now they are all clean. So after I tried to dry them the best that I could, I'm going to put them all on the baby blanket so I can transport them downstairs so they can dry. So I'm just going to wrap them up so they can be all snug. And now we're ready to go. So in the daytime I put them on the washing line, and I hope you like the compost heap in the background. Very nice. And this kind of looks funny. Like, look at the little belly buttons, man. But anyway, I put them outside on the washing line to dry in the daytime, and at night time I just put them on this clothing rack, which is indoors, and I put them indoors on the night time just in case anyone breaks in the garden and steals them, kidnaps them, cuts them up, you know, horrible things. And I don't want to wake up the next morning knowing that a murderer has like murdered them, and I can see all these Cabbage Patch limbs like spreaded out the garden. Like, it does sound like it does sound funny, but I don't want that to happen. Okay, so it's been about 2 or 3 days now, and all of the Cabbage Patch Kids are now dry. So now it's time to sort out the hair. So first I'm going to start on this vintage Cabbage Patch Kid, because their hair is very short and straightforward, and they don't really have brushable hair, but they do have hair that's kind of puffy and fluffy sort of thing, and it's short. So we're going to start with their hair first. So what I'm doing to neaten up their hair is I'm just taking my scissors and I'm just cutting the extra long bits of hair that's sticking out, and I'm also doing some point cutting so the hair won't look as choppy. So I'm just going to go around the head to see if there's any extra long bits, and I'm just going to point cut them to be shorter. And now they are done. Now it's time to sort out these two with the brushable hair. So first I'm going to brush out the hair, and it will be easier if you make sections in the hair then brush it out. So after brushing out all of the hair, I'm going to use some moisturiser, and it can be any sort of moisturiser, and I'm going to put a good amount on a section of hair, and I'm going to try and distribute it all over the section of hair evenly. I'm doing this by just using my hands and running it through my fingers as well, and I'm also using a brush to help me do this as well. You have to make sure to get the moisturiser on the root of the hair as well, because this section needs to be completely covered. Now I'm going to use these straighteners that I stole off my sibling, and they don't have a heat setting because they don't have like a heat setting thing. But if you have straighteners and it does have a setting thing, then do it in a low setting, so yeah. So now I'm going to straighten the section of hair that is covered with all of the moisturiser. The moisturiser is going to act like a heat protectant, so it's going to protect the hair from being burned and damaged and dried out. And I'm doing this because I want to eliminate all of the frizz out of the hair. So I'm just going to straighten this section a few times until I think it's done, and you want to constantly reapply the moisturiser as well so the hair won't get burned. So unfortunately I ran out of moisturiser, and I found this jelly stuff that I'm going to use instead. So I have no choice but to use that, so I'm just going to continue working the hair into sections and straightening them. But I do prefer moisturiser because I think that works best, so I recommend using moisturiser than this weird jelly stuff that I found. So yeah. So now I've finished working on this Cabbage Patch Kids hair. So I'm now moving on to the other one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So first I'm brushing out the hair, and it's easier if you put it into sections then brush it out. I'm again using that jelly stuff because I ran out of moisturiser. To help me distribute it, I use a brush. Then I go in with the straighteners and I straighten the section of hair, while remembering to constantly reapply the jelly or the moisturiser so the hair won't burn. Okay, so I finished straightening this curly doll's hair, and for some reason the curls just didn't straighten out, but at least I got rid of the frizz in the hair, which is the reason why I straightened the hair in the first place. I did think that it would straighten the curls too, but for some reason it didn't. I was planning to recurl the hair after I straightened it, but it looks like I don't have to do that, so hey, that's a bonus, and it saves me time as well, so that's great. But the other one did manage to have perfect straight hair. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to cut around all of the hair to get rid of all the extra long bits. And I'm going to do the same on this Cabbage Patch Kid too. And it may be a bit harder because this one has curly hair, but you can still find some extra long strands to get rid of. I find it easier brushing the hair out with your fingers than finding the long strands. Then you can just cut them away. Now I'm going to wash out the moisturiser using Head and Shoulders shampoo. So I'm just going to put the head over the sink and I'm just getting the hair all wet first. And I'm going to apply a generous amount of shampoo, and you really want to work the shampoo into the hair because you really need to make sure to get rid of all of the moisturiser. And of course I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other Cabbage Patch Kid. And I did leave the shampoo sitting in the hair for about 5 minutes. And I put the hair over the bathtub so it won't drip on the floor. Then I went back to the sink to wash the shampoo out of both of their hairs. I first did use the hot water to rinse out all of the shampoo, and after the shampoo was out I did put it under the cold tap for a final rinse. And also don't forget to squeeze out all of the water from the hair as well. Now I wrapped up the body using a towel so it won't get wet off the hair, and I'm just drying off the hair bit by squishing it using a towel. I would use the cotton towel that I usually use, but that's currently in the wash right now. And if you don't have a cotton towel, you could use a t-shirt because that's made of cotton and that will absorb the water pretty well. But I can't be bothered, so I'm just using a towel. So I found this lying around the house and it's meant to erase frizz and it's meant to be aimed towards curly hair. So I'm going to use this on my curly haired Cabbage Patch Kid to see if it actually does anything, and it's like this foam. So I'm just going to put this all over the Cabbage Patch Kid's hair and hopefully it will turn out nice. And I'm going to add some more because I can. So after I've done this, I'm going to style both of the hairs and wait for them both to air dry. Okay, so this is what the Cabbage Patch Kids turned out to look like. And I'm really happy on how they've turned out, so I'm going to start with Fishy and we're going to talk about this Cabbage Patch Kid, who I named Fishy like I just said. So Fishy's hair looks incredible. It turned out like miles better than I could have imagined. Like look at it. Like it feels so smooth and it's just really soft and it's so like straight and there's no sign of frizz anywhere. And I think Fishy looks like less terrifying now. Like honestly, I think like the hair's like made like a massive improvement on Fishy's face. Like the hairstyle that I had before kind of really like brought out the facial feature, and I don't know, like they look a lot prettier with hair like this. So yeah, Fishy had a glow up. And I just can't like stop like stroking the hair. Like it's incredibly smooth. And it's just, I'm amazed on how like perfect and like oh my god. I'm speechless, absolutely speechless. For the hairstyle, I kind of like took some hair like on the ear, not really behind the ear but like on the ear like that, and that kind of like leads on like there, and I kind of plaited it here and there's like a little bubble here and I kind of hid that just under the hair like so nobody will notice, honestly. So yeah, Fishy actually looks kind of cute now and I'm just like amazed on like how much better they look. Like I never thought Fishy would have like a glow up ever, because like I just thought Fishy had no hope because Jesus, like look at her face. Okay, so now I'm moving on to Dimples. So Dimples is still rocking the curls and like they just look really, they're so clean and like it's not frizzy anymore. So what I basically did, I just like tied the hair up in like a bobble and I kind of just like fluffed it up a bit so it kind of looks like they have a bun in the hair but it's actually just like a lot of curls. And I left some curls like at the front to kind of like frame their face sort of thing, and I just think it looks like it looks cute. And I'm like obsessed with like the fringe. Like, look how adorable like the little curls are. Like, oh, like the fringe looks so adorable. Or bangs if you're American. Okay. And yes, I did give Dimples some clothes. So I gave them like this pathetic looking bow that I just made. I just tied like a bit of like material onto the hair, really, like that, and I just put it in a bubble. And for like the clothes, this is actually my handmade. I made this. So I made this dress for like my mini Raggedy Ann that I made, and I made like, this is like one of the outfits that I made to go with it. So yeah, this dress actually belongs to my mini Raggedy Ann, so that's why it looks a bit like tight and stuff, because it wasn't intended to go on a Cabbage Patch Kid, and I never thought it would end up on a Cabbage Patch Kid. But yes, I gave Dimples some clothes because I just didn't think it was fair that the other Cabbage Patch Kids like had clothes and like Dimples didn't have any. And I was like, no, we have to get this Cabbage Patch Kid some clothes. So I gave them one of my mini Raggedy Ann's outfits, and I think it's not that bad. I think it looks really summery. It is a bit tight fitting, like I said before. The sleeves are a bit short, but it's fine. It's fine. And honestly, I think Dimples is like my favourite Cabbage Patch Kid. Like, I have this beautiful blonde curly hair. Like, look at the, I'm just obsessed. Like, I kind of get over how like nice the curls look, and I love like the little fringe. Like, look how cute the curls are. Look at that. It's like a little curly micro fringe, and it's like, it just looks so pretty. I just love curly hair. So that is Dimples with the little dress that I made. So now we're going to talk about this Cabbage Patch Kid. So with this Cabbage Patch Kid, I'm still debating if I should call them like Andy or not. Because like, as I said before, like on my other Cabbage Patch Kid video, I'm thinking of like making a Raggedy Andy to go with my Raggedy Ann, and I don't know if it's like weird having like two like things that are called Andy. I don't know if it's offensive calling it a thing. Like, I could say two dolls called Andy. I was thinking of calling them like Christopher Robins for like a laugh. So this is what Andy or Christopher Robins turned out to look like. So I just like brushed the hair back basically with like a nail brush. That's how I brushed it back to get it kind of fluffy and stuff. It is a bit weird around here, like it kind of goes a bit wonky and stuff, but it's okay, we're not all perfect. No one's perfect. And I really like the little dimple that I have, like it's so cute. And I think this one gives the best hugs because like I think it's like bigger than these two. Like these two are like so thin, no offense. And this one is just like so cuddly and everything. I don't know if it's like the clothes that adds on to it as well, because it feels really like thick, and this is a big baby. It's a big baby. So yeah, this one's like the really good hugging one, and I think it's because this one's like the vintage one, and you know, back in those days they knew what they were doing with these Cabbage Patch Kids. But now look how Fishy's down. But now look how much they changed. Like they look like a lot thinner now and smaller, and it's like it doesn't feel very good hugging them as much. Because like this one's like a pillow and it's so like, oh wow, but like these two are just like, you know, they're not really that huggable like as much as this one. So I think this one's actually my favourite then, like, because it's like, one, because it's vintage, two, because it's the best at giving hugs, even though I don't like hugs. So this kid has got me shook. So yeah, I think this one's like my favourite because it's like so like, it's just so like, ooh, it's so squidgy, and it's just like kind of, it's just like squidgy and it's like more bigger, and it's so like, oh. But I still do really like Dimples though, because like the hair is amazing. And yeah, I still really like Dimples because I'm obsessed with the hair, and they look so pretty now. Like, I mean, they look pretty before as well, because it's just the curly hair. It's just, that's got me sold. Dimples is killing it. Yeah. And the least favourite is still Fishy. Like, I still like Fishy, but like, I just like the other two more, I think. It's just like, Fishy's hair is like phenomenal. I can't get my words out, sorry, but like Fishy's hair is just like insanely smooth, and it's just like, it just feels so nice, and it just feels so good now. And they look kind of cute now, so, oh, I just don't zoom in this angle, then it will scare everyone away. So that is about it for this video, and leave in the comments who is your favourite Cabbage Patch Kid. And if you want to see the first video that I did in these, the link will be in the description box below. So thank you all so much for watching, and bye!